Hi guys, Jonathan Fox here with something a little bit special. So today I will be interviewing my good friend Dominic Miles. Now this young man has got more chops than you've ever seen. His skill level is truly unbelievable for his age. So he's got a wonderful story. He's going to explain his whole thought process, how he starts creating an effect, what he reads, his whole thought process. His story is extremely inspiring to young magicians out there that are unsure on where to go, how to learn magic and their process. He goes over all of that, and also stick around to the end because he performs a lot of this material. And again, when you realize that this material is extremely difficult and advanced, you will appreciate the true significance of this young man's skill level. So let's get into this interview with my good friend Dominic. Hi guys, and so first of all, this is the legend that is Dom. So Dom, thank you very much for joining us today. So Dom is a Perth magician. He's an upcoming magician, and he's very creative and extremely skillful. So I thought it would be good to get Dom on and get you guys to understand his thought process from a beginner all the way through to what Dom is now is an intermediate magician. He's an advanced magician now, skill wise, and I thought it'd be great to understand your thought process and how you got there and have a real good chat. So how you going, Dom?
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much, John, for having me on the show. I'm very honoured and excited to be here.
Oh, it's a big show. It's a big show.
Yeah.
It's going out to about 3 people right now, but yeah. So, but it's an absolute pleasure, Dom, to have you here. I've obviously known you for a few years. Obviously, you've been up and spent time with myself and Charlene as well. So that's awesome. So I suppose first of all, Dom, sort of how long have you actually been into magic and sort of doing magic, and what age and things like that? Just get a bit of a backstory.
Yeah. So I first became interested in magic when I was about 5 years old. My mother had a magician at my 5th birthday party, and I some reason I just clicked, something clicked, and I was like, I love this. This is so cool. And I grew up in, I don't know if you can tell by the accent, but I grew up in South Africa, Cape Town, and there's a really cool place in Cape Town called the College of Magic. For those who don't know, go check it out. It's really cool. It's pretty much like Hogwarts, and you can there are classes that run on some weekdays, but mainly on the weekend on a Saturday morning, and you can go in and have an hour class where you learn magic and learn how to perform and be up on stage. So there's 7 courses in the college, and course 1 and 2 are both 6 months. So a year together. So you can go to the college from when you're 10 years old. So I went there and did course 1 and 2 from when I was 10 to 11. And then I took a bit of a break because I'm also, apart from doing magic, I'm also big into cricket. I'm trying to play professional cricket. So that took over. But then I injured myself when I was about 12 years old. And then I was out of sport for a year. So I went back to the college and did course 3. So from course 3 onwards to course 7, it's a year per course. So you can finish up at the college when you're about 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And then, so I did course 3, which was really cool. And then high school hit, and high school cricket hit as well. So it was a very busy schedule. So magic took a bit of a back seat. But then in 2018, I was watching some YouTube, and I saw this video of... I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was doing a card trick, and I just saw it. I was like, man, this is so cool. I want to learn. So, and ever since then, since 2018, I've been hooked. So probably just over, just around 5 years, I've been fully into magic, more specifically card magic.
Yeah.
But I've loved every minute of it so far.
And that is sort of your main genre, isn't it? Is card magic.
Card magic, yes.
And do you actually delve into anything else? Have you done any coin magic and things?
Yeah,
like that?
I dabble with coins.
Yeah.
A lot of respect to coin magicians. I think any type of magic is incredible. But I don't know what it is. Just for me, cards are very therapeutic. I think it's something that's something I just enjoy. I'm trying to figure out myself why I love it so much, but I just do. And but I did used to do 1 or 2 kids shows when I was still in South Africa.
Yeah.
So I did some sort of general magic, but my first love is cards. So
That's, 100%. Yeah, and I think that's like most of us, really. That most of us have got a passion for card magic, and then maybe when you sort of, as you get older, you may drift into the genre that you feel. But most people start off with cards because they're cheap for a start, aren't they?
For sure.
And so
easy to transport.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah, that's awesome. And I will say, by the way, is this not like the best dressed guy right now here? I was like, when he walked through the door, I'm like, Jesus, Dom, like, you're looking pretty sharp. So Dom's an extremely elegant guy, and he's an extremely elegant performer as well, and we'll get onto that in a minute. So I know that Dom, you've started to progress from, let's say, amateur and become semi-professional to professional with paid gigs and things like that. So how have you found that transition from essentially learning the magic, going out performing it, to actually being paid to go out and do gigs?
I mean, I suppose everyone's view may be different for this sort of thing, but personally for me, I find the reason I do magic is because I enjoy it, and therefore that means I want to perform and do and practice things that I enjoy, and there are pros and cons to this. I mean, the pros being that you do something that you really enjoy, and I think there's a certain, it's hard to explain. I think it's a mystery within magic. Juan Tamariz talks about it as one of the mysteries in magic that we magicians can't figure out, is if you do something that you truly love and you're truly passionate for, your audience can see that and they appreciate that, and it makes the moment very special. I think that just adds to your magic. And I think for me, if I was doing magic for any other reason than enjoying it, I think it would be a waste of my time, to be honest.
And everything that you do, you can clearly see. If you and Dom, by the way, Dom is going to perform some magic for us in
Excited.
a bit. But when you see the performance, especially when you see you do it in front of other people, how they sort of react and feed off that, and I genuinely think that they can tell your passion for magic. And I also think that a spectator does understand, even though everything is so proficient that you do skill wise, and you can't tell that you're actually doing anything, because you're also a very sort of natural performer, and that is they can understand, I think, the level that you're performing at compared to some other performers that just are, let's just do a trick. What you may not know about Dom is his thought process and analysing a trick is absolutely next level. I can tell you, he doesn't just read a book and then just get straight into it and just do the trick. He analyses, because we all stand on the shoulder of giants.
Oh, for sure.
And you read so much literature, and it's all excellent literature that you read. So I suppose, how do you go through the process of learning magic? What is your process to learning magic?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's for me, it's been a sort of up and down journey of changing this, that, and the next thing. But I'd say at the moment, currently, my main resource for learning magic is from books. I know a few people might think that's a bit weird because not a lot of people these days read books, but I can certainly tell you that magic books are the best place to learn pretty much every type of magic and concept in magic. I mean, there are 1 or 2 things that are best learnt on video downloads, for example, things of timing and like performance, and so things of that nature. But I think overall, magic books are so cool. And I think I only discovered this probably around Christmas time 2020. So for those who, well, you probably don't know, I have dyslexia, and reading for me and certain other things such as mathematics were a bit of a struggle growing up. They still are, but I'm working on them somewhat. and I never was a big reader growing up, and I remember this was just after I got back into magic and was really interested in cards. I had been watching a lot of YouTube videos and I started out learning a lot of my magic on YouTube through some YouTubers like Chris Ramsey, Card Mechanic, the Russian Genius, all those guys. And but then I got to a stage where it's like, okay, I'm learning some of these things. I've learned most of them. Like, what else can I learn now? So I was looking at some of the magic websites, and I saw some books that that looked interesting, that were good for beginners. Books such as The Royal Road to Card Magic, Joshua Jay's Complete Course in Magic, or Joshua Jay's book on cards. And I purchased some of those, which were really cool. And I read them, and I read some of the, like, bits and pieces of them, and I enjoyed it. But it was just something that was like I was invested, but I wasn't like fully invested yet. And when Christmas 2020 came, my mother asked me, "Oh, what do you want?" And I was like, "Oh, something magic related for Christmas." And I'd been eyeing up this like deck of cards, and but then my mom was like, "Oh, why don't you get a book?" And I was like, "Okay, fine, we'll get another book." And I was looking at some people to like investigate and see who would be interesting, like, to buy their material. And I came across a person named Guy Hollingworth, and man, I saw him perform one of his effects, cards through jacket, which I can perform later. And seeing that performance just inspired me so much. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I have to get this book. I have to study it, read it, because his material is just amazing. And ever since then, I've been fully invested into reading magic books. And I think one thing you realize, even though I struggle with reading, because I enjoyed and wanted to learn the effects in a book so much, like the difficulties with the reading were just irrelevant, because I enjoyed it. I think one thing for people out there to know is, even if you do struggle with reading, if you're passionate about what you want to learn, you will do what you need to get the work done. And for parents out there as well, one thing I would suggest, one thing my mother did for me as well, was when I was starting out with the reading and stuff, even if it wasn't magic books, she would record, read the book and record her reading the book to me, and then I would be able to follow along, which is almost helps you get started and started with the process. Because I think once you get hooked, like, there's no stopping you. Because I've been going ever since. So
100%. Can't agree with you more. And like, we've spoken massively about this, Dom, because I'm dyslexic as well, and we've spoken about the issues of, like, I'll have customers that come to us and they go, "Well, I'm a visual learner," and honestly, when you see like Dom do a trick in a bit, and you see his performance, you're gonna go, "I want to learn that," right? But the only place you can learn it is from the book. And we were talking that I think that they really do need to see it.
Yes.
To get that. And like you say, to reiterate and just going forward, that once you've got that vested interest, you will push through that. And then literally it's like riding a bike. The moment you take that first step and you sort of start pedaling and going and going and going, you will continue on. But yeah, we've had huge conversations about our thought process in actually reading books, because we both struggle, being dyslexic, reading books. And yet might as well touch on this now, is how do you, when you go through a magic book, because this is going to be really interesting for the guys out there, what is your thought process in making the notes, actually going through a trick and actually going through the whole process of, let's say, learning the trick? What do you sort of do? How do you read that book?
Yeah. So I suppose it depends on what type of book it is. I think starting out, when I was reading books, it was just reading, bits and pieces of certain things. But I think now that I'm a bit more invested in them, I've learned a bit more how to read specific types of books. For example, if you're reading a magic theory book, I which talks about like the philosophy and thinking behind magic. I highly recommend reading that sort of book, page cover to cover. If you're learning a certain effect, or you're wanting to come up or study a certain idea, you can sort of take a specific book and just read a certain section of it. I think one thing you have, you might not, well, you definitely won't be able to see it, but the awesome library John has behind the camera here, and a great advantage of having a fairly decent sized library is that if you're wanting to study a specific effect, for example, Triumph, there's hundreds of versions of Triumph out there, and pretty much every card magic book has a version of it. So it's really cool to almost do a bit of a case study. So you if I was wanting to do a bit of a study of Triumph, the effect Triumph, I could go to Guy Hollingworth's book and read about how he does it, or I can go to Secrets of Sosato and read about how you pick up different ideas of how people do things, and then you're able to go, okay, I like this, but maybe I don't like this, or and then you're able to combine ideas and maybe come up with your own thing, or maybe you perform a specific type of Triumph, but it has subtleties of another person's version of the effect. So you can do case studies. I think one thing I have really realized lately is the value of just reading a magic book cover to cover, just studying someone's work. I mean, honestly, I don't think you will agree with or enjoy everything someone has put out there in their book and written up in their book. That would, be understandable. But I think just being able to read and study their thought process is very important. And I think different authors also give off, have different like writing styles that teach, like sort of, if you read between the lines, that their sort of writing style teaches you things. For example, someone like Darwin Ortiz, if no one knows Darwin Ortiz, highly recommend checking him out. He's amazing. But his style of writing, Darwin Ortiz is someone who has read hundreds and hundreds of books, magic books, and he studied them thoroughly. He's amazing when it comes to studying books. So when he's written a couple of books himself, and when you read his books, he will say, for example, you'll be reading a specific effect, and there might be like a move or a subtlety or an idea that you need to learn for the effect. But he's like, in order to learn this, you need to go to page 300 what to go read this, and then come back to this effect and move on. So basically what he's getting you to do is study the book, not just read little sections, but he's getting you to read all of it.
Because he will point you to there is an expectation with a lot of Darwin's work that you have a very you've got a basic understanding of card mechanics. So you have to have read essentially like card college, or so you've got some foundation to understand that he can then refer you back to. And I think that's a wonderful way to be able to have that, because the person that's reading that book is already at a level, or if you're not at that level, he's going to get you to that level, because it's impractical to have in his books every single sleight that you would need to do, but there has to be an expectation.
For sure. And I think even in the actual book itself, like there's some tricks where there might be a trick that you're reading at the beginning of the book, but then for one of the steps in the trick, he might not include in the first section of the book. It might be in a trick that's at the end of the book, and you need to go to the end of the book to figure that out and then come back to that trick. So again, it's getting you to study. Someone like Guy Hollingworth, he was very good at creating things and performing his own routines. So through his writing, he will leave certain challenges or ideas. He'll just leave you with an idea at the end of a chapter, and he's like, okay, here's something, go and create.
Very, very sort of Hofstadter style of thinking, like sort of like Hofstadter's problems, and he wants people to go out and solve it. Which I know, obviously, you have gone through those processes through Guy's book, because Guy obviously is a huge influence upon your magic and your style and things like that.
Yeah, no, he's definitely. I mean, the book's right here. This is my favorite book, hands down. I love everything about it. Even just the way it looks so classy.
Yeah, it is classy.
But I think one thing this book has made me realize is that these effects that he's written there, they take practice, and you gotta, you're not just gonna read an effect and be able to do it. You need to practice.
Yeah.
You need to practice, and these types of books are the ones that separate, the people who are just doing things compared to people who are actually going on and doing effects that are different and that are noticed and that are that have that sort of, as we were talking about, if you're passionate about this sort of stuff, your audience will see that through this
100%, yeah,
and they will know that they're witnessing someone who is highly skilled at what they do. So.
But in saying all of that though, and your skill level is extremely high,
thank you.
Do you're not, I've noticed, but you're not concerned if you needed to put a gimmick in to achieve the same effect and you could cut the sleight out, you would probably do that. And I know you also have got some nice effects that are actually self-working in method, even though proficiently you can do pretty much every move that you can that's possible.
Yeah.
Does that, obviously that doesn't really bother you, because there's a lot of magicians out there, they go, oh, I'm a purist and I would never use a gimmick or a card or whatever to essentially make the effect more streamlined and better for the audience. Obviously that doesn't really bother you and you're happy to sort of do whatever is right for the effect.
Yeah, I think I mean, I wouldn't say I use gimmicks a lot, but I certainly think if it would benefit the overall performance, sometimes you need to swallow your ego and and just be like, well, this is actually better. But I think gimmicks used in a very subtle way are very important. If they're used in the right way, it's perfect. I think sometimes people can overuse them. But I mean, like for example, a routine like Bruce Savon's All Backs routine, he uses a certain gimmick in that effect, and it's used so well. It's used very subtly, very cleverly, and like that's what I love about gimmicks in that sense. I mean, even Guy has in his book has some of his routines use certain gimmicks in a very subtle and sly way, which is cool. So.
He used I remember years ago seeing him perform his Waving the Aces, right? But he used his quartet card. And I was absolutely blown away. Now, when he, I think it was on the World's Greatest Magic, and I worked out how Reformation was done years ago. Like I'd never had the book. I'm not sure if the book was even out then. I can't remember when he did that. But I worked it back and worked it out. But I could never get to grips with his Waving the Aces because it utilizes the quartet card, and I went to a guy named Keith Bennett in the UK, and who knows Guy, and I was like, I don't understand how this guy could be doing this. And he said, and I got all these mad things in my head as a child, and yet it was just so simple. But the effect was unbelievable. But he's utilized something in there that is just genius, and I do mean genius. And then of course so it's like 4 picture cards, they turn around, but of course it was actually the effect is Waving the Aces, and then he turns these 4 cards into aces very cleanly, and very good. It is really really good.
Very good.
Yeah, but I think in his book he does it where I don't think he utilizes. Does he utilize the quartet in there?
Not in drawing and receptions. He has 2 versions of the Waving the Aces. The one that is done down at waist level, and the other one that's done up at chest level. Which I've mainly practiced the one up here, chest level, which we can talk about later on. But he uses certain other gimmicks, some stationery, certain items of stationery as gimmicks. Which it's amazing reading, like how could you? Oh, he uses it like that. Oh, this is amazing. I think the amazing thing. I think sometimes I sometimes fall into the trap of is thinking that the more difficult the effect is sleight of hand wise, the better it will be. Where sometimes you actually realize, like maybe using a gimmick very subtly, or like certain self-working tricks can if you perform them right, they can create such a magical moment and feeling amongst you and your audience. And sometimes that's far more important than being able to do a, 8-table pharaoh shuffles in front of your audience in order to put the deck back in a new order. It's sometimes those types of effects are not as powerful as trying to think of a routine that use. I mean, there's some routines in a book that I'm currently reading, Close Up Card Magic by Harry Lorraine.
Yeah.
And I mean, Harry Lorraine is fairly decent technician. I wouldn't say he's outstanding, but technically wise. But the things that he does, like they method wise, they're fairly achievable.
Through most skill levels.
Yeah. But they hard hitting routines that that work well, and the reason they work well is because they perform them well. I suppose that's another thing we can chat about later. It's like there's a difference between practicing a trick and actually performing and rehearsing it to an audience.
100%. So we can touch on that now, because I was going to actually ask you, as well as that answer that you were about to give, the sort of how do you go through practicing? Like, what's your methodology when you've got a book there, you're reading the book? Do you read the whole trick through once and then get a feel for it, and then start practicing? Because most moves you would be proficient, but if you weren't proficient at a move, how would you learn that move?
Exactly.
For argument's sake, you might want to learn a pass or a double lift. Most people do a double lift shockingly because they don't practice it, because they just go, it's 2 cards, that's it. But to do it right takes practice. So how do you go about?
Well, there's I've got 2 books here that I think would be applicable for this conversation. I think to answer the first part of the question about how to practice, this book over here, The Structural Concept of Magic by Ascanio, it's a magic theory book, but at the end of the book, he is asked, he explains how to practice and learn magic. And if I remember correctly, there are, I need to reread this, but he talks about there's 4 stages of learning magic. And as you said, the first stage is actually reading the effect itself. And being able to individually take the certain sleights and moves in there and practice them until they're efficient. And then once that first stage is over, you go back and you perform the routine, but just the moves in the sequence that the trick talks about, and make sure that everything's smooth and running correctly. And then from there you come up with your presentation, and then you go back and you look at your presentation. You go, okay, where can I get better at? Maybe my body needs to be facing this way, or then you go back and you look at your angles and specific minute things. And then from there, which is probably the scariest bit, is taking that and going out and performing for people and audiences, because that's honestly, I found, as scary as it is, that's the only place you can actually practice a magic trick.
100%.
Is in front of a live audience. There's only so much practicing you can do, in the bedroom and at home. You got to get out there and do it. And I suppose that's something I'm still working through and getting the courage to do, because it is nerve-wracking, because you put so much time and effort into something. You want your audience to appreciate what you're doing, and you want them to know you care. So it is nerve-wracking, but I think you've got to find a way to just be able to relax, and you go, if I mess up, it's okay. People know that I'm enthusiastic about this, but I'm willing to take the risk because I love this so much. I want to pursue it. And then from there, he talks about how in life we can only ever perfect maybe 1 or 2 or 3 magic tricks, because everything is a constant work in progress. And I love the way Ascanio describes it. He also describes it in this book.
Is that volume? Because there's 4 sets, isn't there? To these.
Yes.
The first one is theory,
and then the following 2 are his card magic.
Yeah.
And then the 4th book is a slightly shorter one on knife magic. I haven't got that one. I've got the first 3 volumes, but I'd say so far I've thoroughly enjoyed volume 1. It's a really well made book. But he talks about one thing I love that he describes at the end of the book is how, as you said, we only perfect 1 or 2 or 3 magic tricks in our life. Everything else is a constant work in progress, because our magic is a reflection of who we are as people, and what our persona is. And because we as people are always growing and changing and maturing and thinking about new things, therefore our magic needs to do that as well. It needs to change and grow with us, which I found very beautiful and very amazing. I think one thing you'll learn about a lot of Spanish writers like Tamariz Ascanio, they write in such a beautiful poetic way. It's not for everyone, but if you do understand what they're trying to convey through their writing, it's very special. So
100%. It's everything's well written, and there's always so much thought that's gone into making it a masterpiece. Every bit of writing that Juan Tamariz does, or Ascanio, it's just their thought. They don't see it as a trick.
Yes.
They see it as a literally a work of art, and that they're trying to convey that, and they are constantly making natural actions. There's never anything you with Ascanio or Juan Tamariz. There's never anything that looks untoward. It's always very, very natural.
Very motivated.
Always. Danny D. Ortiz is the same. Always so natural. That's why he constantly fools people, because it appears that he's not doing anything, when in actual fact there's a lot more going on than you actually realise, because of their way. I'd love to go to the Spanish school.
I know. Yeah. So I'm maybe going to England next year for cricket, so I want to definitely try to get over. I've got a good friend in Portugal that I want to go see as well. He runs a magic academy there. But just the way that they teach magic and think about it is so amazing, because and the thing about those guys, they perform such great magic, but most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, the stuff they do is it's not too technically difficult.
Yeah.
They just do things like they got their basics down so well.
Yeah.
And this book, which I'll talk about soon, talks about basics, and this is a really good book to have. But it's they're very good at having their basics down, and then, as you said, everything is motivated and makes sense. I think there's a difference between magic-y looking sleight of hand, which is like, okay, why is he doing this? And then there's sleight of hand, which is invisible. Yeah. I think another great person to hear talk about sleight of hand is a man named Tony Chang. He's insane, but the way that he thinks about sleight of hand is incredible. So I think my style, I'd say, is I love sleight of hand, but very specific sleight of hand, because I think it's one thing being able to do all these moves, but at the same time, some of those moves, something just doesn't look right about them. You know? There's some certain passes or certain moves where you need to randomly just turn to the side, and but it's in your audience's head, it's why? All you needed to do is just put the card on the table. Why did you need to turn to the left and and then put the, I think once you start thinking about sleight of hand like that, you limit down your options of what you can do quite a bit, which can be a bit of a disadvantage. But at the same time, that means that you really have to think, and the things that you do are good because you've thought about them, and and then sometimes you actually, through that process, come up with your own things. Which I've managed to do once or twice. So it's a good process to go through.
And I think that is important, that and that you understand your own what you want to get out of it, because then you're going to give your audience the best of what you can offer. You know what I mean? You're not just going, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this, and just hash it all together. When you understand how you want to perform and your process, like you said, it may limit it down, but that limited material is going to be the very best material.
Exactly.
Then probably some of the best magic that your audience will ever see. So I suppose, obviously, we've spoken about a few of the books, and I know we're going to talk more about the books and things like that, and I know you're going to demonstrate some of the magic from within those books. But sort of going back to when you are practicing, how much time do you spend? So for argument's sake, a pass, right, or a second deal, right? Let's just We'll do a second deal. It could be anything, but what I'm trying to do is trying to get into your thought process, because you're extremely proficient in what you do, and really for the time that you've spent actually doing hardcore sleight of hand, you've ascertained that perfection quite young, really. So I suppose, if you're reading a book and it's telling you the second deal, how do you digest that information? What are your steps to actually?
Steps, yeah. So I don't have them with me, but I have notebooks that I've got two types of notebooks. So there's one that I do a whole of. Say for example, I'm reading a theory book. I will summarize the book in that notebook. So I'll read each chapter, I go back and read it again and summarize to get the concept. There's another notebook that I use where I will, if I like something in a book, I'll jot down the idea and the page number. So that's a reference I can go back to. So then I've got all the second deals or ideas for second deals that I like, and I know, okay, I read it here, this page number, so I don't have to spend hours looking for it. But so that's the first thing. If you are needing to do something like a second deal or a pass, go into your library or go to all the resources you have and look and read about the way that person thinks or does the pass, and take away ideas that you like from it, ideas that you don't like about it, and then from there be able to work out, okay, what do you like, what do you not like, and then try and take that information and create and try and replicate that move the way you want it to be performed. Sometimes you just see someone perform it and they perform it so well, it's like, okay, I've just got to do it like this guy and then I'm sorted. Which, I mean, someone like Steve Forty, you watch him do seconds, bottoms and centers, and it's like, I just need to learn from this guy. So but I'd say practicing, you got to start off, it's like learning anything, you got to start off slow, and really focus on what you're doing. And one thing I've really realized lately, whether it be with cricket, cards, or recently started learning piano, you got to do a little bit every day. You'd rather do like 20-30 minutes every single day than do maybe 1 3-hour practice session a week, because it's about learning, creating that muscle memory. And I think one thing us as humans these days we need to be a lot better at is being patient. It's something I'm learning. I'm needing to learn very quickly. But being able to be patient and realizing that these sort of things, whether it be sleight of hand or anything else in life, if you want to achieve something, it's going to take time. And it's not going to look the way you want it to look for the first while. But it's just about having the tenacity and the courage to wait and just stick through that period of, this is not looking too good. Because then once you start getting proficient in it, the practicing becomes so much more fun. Because, now, for example, one thing I've been practicing a lot lately is a push-off double. And say, for example, I'm walking from my place to the shops. I'll have a deck of cards in my hands and I'll just be, walking, listening to music, but I'll be practicing the push-off double. Like it's about, one thing about me is like, it's very rare that you'll see me without a deck of cards on me. I've always got cards with me. It's people are like, in order to be good, I have to sit down like for a specific amount of hours a day and practice, and nothing else. Like that works for some people, but I mean for me, because I've got a busy schedule, and because I do magic, I'm not a professional magician. I've got other things in life I need to be doing. That means that my practice schedule is whenever I can. Which means, if you do anything like, cards or coins, it's very easy to transport these things. You keep them in a pocket. Like I've got a deck of cards pretty much ever. I've got a deck of cards in the car. I've got a deck of cards in the kitchen. So it's like, if I'm cooking something in the microwave, if I'm heating something up in the microwave and it's like 2 minutes, I've got a deck of cards and I'll just pull out and just practice something for 2 minutes, So it's like a constant, whenever you can, you just do it because you love it. And I always, if I only do it if I want to do it, because you want to have that feeling of enjoyment when you're practicing, because then that reflects into your performance and your just the way that you feel about magic. I mean, I know Tommy Wonder talks about it in his fantastic books, the Books of Wonder. Talks about that a little bit. Yeah, practice when you want to, and just carry your prop with you wherever you go, so you can find times, because you'll be amazed how much time you actually have to practice when you're out and about, because it's very easy for people like on the trains just to sit on their phones.
Yeah,
where
100%.
Whenever I'm taking a train, I'll just be practicing, or you find time. It's amazing where you how much time you actually have, and you realize you have to practice. So going about moves, that's sort of how I go about it.
Yeah.
And then once I've learned the moves, I then again go into practicing it as a whole sequence.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I just get the moves down, and then from there you try and work out, okay, how do I want to present this? Either you present it the way it's been presented in the book,
yeah,
or which is probably the best way to start performing it.
Yeah.
Because once you start performing it, once you start performing to a real audience, you then realize, okay, for me personally, like who I am as a person, the way that this is presented, maybe this works well, maybe this doesn't work well, or maybe you just realize through practicing, performing it to an audience, you realize, oh, this is a completely different way to the way the book describes how I should perform, but this is a way that I personally would perform it best.
Yeah.
So
because that's actually interesting what you say there, because obviously in most presentations on in books in most effects in books, they will give you an outline presentation. Now I think there's a huge difference here when you actually read a book and you read that presentation and then you perform it, because if you watch somebody perform it, you will become them subconsciously. You become them. But when you're reading it from a book, you really don't have a sense of their timing and things like that. So there is a huge difference, I think, in reading as opposed to watching. Yeah, I think watching it and essentially becoming that person is you're doing yourself a disservice. But obviously reading and understanding that presentation gives you the confidence to go out, and then as soon as you're performing it, you realize then, I suppose, your what you need to do, whether that's wait a moment or two before you make the revelation, or whatever it is, to understand that. So that's actually a really good idea, because normally I would actually read a book and go, okay, will this suit me as my performance style? And I think it's important that when you read a book as well, that you make sure you read the effect and see if it's something that you like, but don't necessarily let the effect, if you read it, put you off, because I also think that there's merit in understanding and reading through an effect, because you could actually find a method and go, you know what, I actually really like that concept. I'm not going to use it here, but I may
use it here.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's exactly right. And that's something that you're probably not going to pick up on a DVD, really, because you're going to want to try and perform it the way that they do, or you may be put off by the way that they perform it. When you read it, you're interpreting it in your own head and in your own words as such. So I think that's a great bit of advice. Now, I suppose one thing that we have spoken about, and that is making, obviously, there is a difference in, so you've practiced all the moves, then you've practiced it in sequence. Now you've gone in, essentially, you are getting to the stage where you want to perform this. Now, for me, I literally have, depending on what it is, if it's a card effect, then I'll sit at the table and practice. If it's a stage piece, I'll literally put seats around here and then address the audience like I'm actually performing for them. How do you sort of get from piecing it all together to then practicing it as a run through?
Rehearsing it.
Rehearsing it, because there's a difference between
rehearse.
And then going, exactly, because rehearsing, guys, is you getting yourself geared up for, you've ironed everything out, and you are putting it in ready to sort of get out there and perform it. for an audience, whether that's paid or not. I think every time that you perform magic you should be giving it 110%. It shouldn't just be half-arsed really and going out there and it not being the best that you can be, because that's not only putting you in a bad light, but it's also putting magic in a bad light. So every time you do an effect, it should be the best it can be. So thoughts?
Yeah, I think I certainly agree. There's a difference between practicing and rehearsing. I think the rehearsing part is as you said, once you've learnt the moves and you learnt the sequences and the presentation, and then it's about doing it as like a run through. And then I think the best way to start from there is to, I mean, for me personally, it might be different for others people, it's just to really ease into it, because it is very, it's very easy to do the routine very smoothly at home, when no one's watching. But then as soon as you get out in front of someone, it's like the first, even that you could have practiced this effect for years and years and years, but because this is what I found with one of the tricks I practiced for about, I practiced it for about just under 2 years before I actually performed it for someone. And even then, like, I was still pretty shaky and was like, a bit rattled. But you just got to very slowly get yourself into performing in front of people, whether that be performing for family, or performing for a friend, or performing for someone online on a video call, or if you want to just go and perform for a complete stranger, because if you stuff up, it's like you're probably not going to see them again. I mean, if you saw them again, that'd be real magic. But but I think because I have had a couple of times where that's happened, but it's what it is. But
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's
I think realizing, I think you become you're able to unlock your potential when you realize it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah, which it is. Everybody makes mistakes, 100%.
Exactly. And I think the quicker you learn that, and the quicker you are okay with making mistakes, the quicker you can develop and get through that rehearsal to being very good at performing at phase.
Yeah, that's right. And when obviously we're going back, because obviously, like, everybody that's a performer will make mistakes from time to time. It just will happen. But what you're doing by giving your audience the best possible chance of being the best you and the best magic of quality of material that you can give them, that will, if you make a mistake, it just happens. Like there's nothing you can do. But I can guarantee you, if you've ironed everything out and you do make a mistake, you will not miss a beat. You will just carry on as if nothing has happened. Whereas if you haven't spent the time with the effect, spent the time routining it, spent the time rehearsing it properly, if you make a mistake, you all of a sudden clam up and you don't know what to do, and then that makes you then look unprofessional. Mistakes happen. It's happened to us all, and there's nothing you can do. But it's how you deal with those mistakes, and I think the way that you deal with those mistakes is how you prepare yourself from the very beginning of doing all this in a chronological order. Really, 100%.
I think, as you're saying, I think being able to practice something and realize, okay, if this goes wrong, then how can I, like, what are my different outs if this goes wrong, or if this goes that way? I think there's specific, I mean, for me, the specific style that I like to perform, I mean, if I stuff up, then there's very few options of where I can go from there. But there are, like, someone like Icy Wind, he's got effects where it's like there's multiple outs. And there's also like a bit like Danny Da Ortiz, he's got certain effects where there's different outs and different ways you can end the effect if certain things happen. But I think sometimes if you mess up, I mean, I remember reading in Strong Magic by Darwin Ortiz, sometimes you mess up and there's no way to go, and all you can really say is, hey guys, I'm really sorry, can I start this again? And if you don't make it a big deal, the audience won't make it a big deal either.
100%. Just remember, it's a card trick. It's a coin trick.
As easy as that is to say. I mean,
but it is. It is. We spend years trying to get an effect correct, and still some effects will, are not where we need it to be. but essentially that's what it is.
That's
so
what
like
it
you
is.
say, it's great advice. Really, just don't, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I think you gotta just work out. I think one thing for me specifically that I'm currently trying to work out for myself is like an actual mental process you can go through, because it's very easy to say like, oh, just don't let it affect you, but like, how do you actually do that? Like, what is the process you can go through and do that? Like, and I think trying to figure out like a process of before you perform or during perform or after the performance, you're able to like mentally go through these steps of just bringing yourself, back down and to reality, and realizing, I think being able to have a process where you can bring yourself back down to reality and realize what you're doing, and if you stuff up, it's okay, it's fine. I think having that process of figuring out how to get there is very important. So figuring out your own mental process, it'll be different for everyone, but something very important to work out. So
100%. Like, and this is sort of understanding your thought process. And things like that, because I'm sure that everybody that, if you're watching this, I'm sure, and you read magic books, and you should be reading magic books, that people have their own ways of struggling with things, and I genuinely do think a lot of people don't read magic books now, especially the younger generation, because they are conditioned to have everything on TikTok and things like that, and you also have to be mindful about learning magic from YouTube as well. There are some good sleight of hand artists on there. However, there's a lot more that are no good. And will teach you the incorrect mechanics of an effect. And of course, if you practice something that's incorrect, it's a lot harder to try and straighten that out and correct it than just learning the move. Than learning the move right the first time, because of the muscle memory.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one book to really cement those basics is this one called Concerning the Palming of Cards by a man named John Galsworthy. So in this book he goes over a lot of like the fundamentals for card magic, like with your classic moves, so your top palms, your bottom palms, side steal, diagonal palm shift. But the amount of detail this man goes into,
I haven't read it.
Oh, you need to.
I haven't read it.
It's amazing, and the amount of detail he goes into with writing up the explanations for this is amazing. And there's also the really cool thing about this, which I think a lot of magic books need to do in the future, is it comes with a sort of barcode that you can scan, and then it takes you to like, not video tutorials, but you can see him actually performing the moves, which gives you a reference to like, okay, this is what this is supposed to look like, and then from there move on. I suppose another thing about reading books is you have that, instead of seeing it, sometimes it's best to see it performed live, but when you read a book, you read it and then you interpret it in your mind, and you're like, this is what it's supposed to look like. Therefore, I'm not going to rest until it looks like this. Where sometimes if you watch a video download, not saying that the person who's created is not proficient in what they're doing, but sometimes you can actually take it to the next level. But through watching the performance, you're like, okay, if I get to this level, it will be good enough, and then I can just move on to something else. Where reading it, you're like, okay, this is what I'm wanting it to look like, and it's going to look like this. So therefore, I need to practice until it gets that good.
Yeah, and I know that you spoke about this earlier, and it is good having that for timing to understand. Like a video, it's good to understand the timing. I remember Steve Forte, when he brought his gambling books out, his sleight of hand. He actually put videos up. I think they were on his website that you could go to understand and see the timing. So even though you read the description to actually understand the flow of how it is, but there's no presentation. It's just this is this move, this is this cut, bang 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 bang, and you read the description, you understand it, but he's giving you the flow.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a big thing, and again regarding to like if you read something and it sounds difficult, I think that can be a big hurdle for people to get over. But again, like when I was talking about earlier, seeing Guy Hollingworth perform that one specific routine, when I saw that, I was like, I don't care how difficult this is, I'm going to learn it because it's a beautiful piece of magic. So I think that's one thing magic books need to invest more time into. It's like maybe it doesn't have to be like a very intricate sort of detailed instructional video, but it's just like people need to, if people can see it and see that it's good, then they know this is worth putting the hours of practice in. Because 100%. It's very disheartening to put hours and hours into something and then realize, you know what, this actually isn't going to look good. Or I mean, I suppose that's also like a fear with, you know, when you come up with things. Like I've started to come up with one or two things, and there's stages where you're like, am I just wasting my time here? Like this is probably not going to look good at all. Like, you know, so you gotta be brave sometimes, just take that risk and hope that it works out.
Yeah. So, yeah. 100%. I suppose, like, what is, because I know you've got some magic books down there that you've brought along. What's your favourite magic book?
Oh, hands down, Drawing Room Deceptions. I'd say, again, this book is incredible.
That was a real no-brainer question,
no, for sure. I'd say Drawing Room Deceptions. I'd say one of my favorite theory books at the moment would be The Structural Concept of Magic by Ascanio, and then some other books that I like regarding like sleight of hand are books like If an Octopus Could Palm. Another book which I've got over here by Forces Unseen by Ernest Eric.
Great beginner book, guys. Great beginner book.
No. if you're wanting to delve into hardcore sleight of hand, this is the book to get. And again, I mean, Ernest Eric, he wasn't a magician himself. He was just a sleight of hand enthusiast. And I suppose that's I think not everyone wants to perform. Some people just want to practice moves and stuff. I mean, there's part of me that just enjoys practicing stuff for the sake of practicing, because it's very therapeutic and enjoyable. But like things with, you know, books like this and If an Octopus Could Palm, like you're able to learn moves that are very unconventional, very unorthodox, and ideas that are very unorthodox and very sort of abstract in some sense. And through that, you're able to, if you want to, you know, try and think of a way of like, how can I use this, or maybe you come up with your own sort of version of something. Like there's a move from If an Octopus Could Palm called trading, where you have it's like a palming move. See if I can get where's the angle is. So it's a palming. It's a move that you practice for palming, where you It's not really something that you would perform that sort of often for people, but it's a fun move to practice. And one thing the book talks about is it teaches you like the basic move, which I've just showed you. But then it also talks about how if you want to, like gives you the option, if you want to, you can actually do this with a full deck. And you can do it. So I was like, why not? So I practiced the move so you can bring the card around the pack like
away.
That.
As you do.
But then you can go. I was like, okay, can I take this a step further? So this is something which I have managed to do. So this is something that I've been practicing. Again, at the moment this is just a fidget thing. But I've realized, if you can take one card and bring around the deck, surely you can do that with like a few cards. So eventually I've managed to work it out where you can do it where it's half the pack. So it's essentially a one-handed pass. But and see, like I think like see how you get on that to create a streak, and then you realize like maybe I can, you know, because not everything you think and play with will be usable. Especially when it comes to like sleight of hand stuff. But sometimes you actually realize, hold up, like I can actually use this for this. And then again, like you come up with your own ideas and maybe someone else has come up with them beforehand, but you at least stumble across them yourself and then maybe come up with your own sort of variations of them and your own touches, which I think is probably the best way to go about it. But it's fun. I mean, if you enjoy that creative process, which I do, having those types of books is very important.
Hand size is also, like, people go, well, my hands are too small, and now my hands are very small. I've got stumpy fingers, whereas Dom's got nice piano fingers and very dexterous. But that's not to say that I couldn't practice that and learn to do that. I would just maybe have to change my thought process in the specific mechanics of it. Do you know what I mean? To do it with the hand placement and things like that.
Again, it's very. I think a lot of the stuff is like being able to go. How does this best work? You know, how does this work best for me?
Yeah.
And that's I think that's a big part of learning magic, especially out of books, is you got so much creative license because you imagined what you've read in your head opposed to seeing it in a video and copying it exactly, you know. So that's I suppose that's another advantage of learning from a book.
I remember years ago when Bill Malone brought his DVD tapes out with L&L Publishing, and he did Sam the Bellop, and people were running around doing Sam the Bellop exactly the same as you know. There's only one Bill Malone.
Yeah,
you know.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, that's awesome. So that obviously that's your favorite magic book.
Yes.
What's your favorite magic trick? And when I say magic trick, it's probably realistically going to be a card effect.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite card effect?
I'd say my favorite effect with cards would definitely have to be Cards Through Jacket by Guy Hollingworth.
Again, another no-brainer.
It's I mean, it's a trick that I remember. That's the effect that inspired me to buy this book, and I mean, I'll perform it later if you like. Yeah. And the moment the magic happens, which I'm very excited for you to see later. The moment you see the magic happen, I remember seeing this and just going like what?
Yeah.
Like you just get that feeling of just like, whoa, like this is amazing. And as soon as I like felt that, I was like, man, this is so cool. I need to learn this.
Yeah.
And again, like when you get that feeling, it's like, I don't care how difficult this is. I'm gonna learn it.
Yeah.
I wanna be able to do this because this has made me feel this specific way. And
100%. Yeah.
And again, when you feel that way about something, people can pick up on that.
Yep.
Like
you know,
it's just it's an amazing environment to be in. Because I've experienced that with other people, seeing how they're passionate about their certain things in life, and you see that and you're like, wow, this is amazing. Like being able to experience that. So I want to try and create that with my audience and when I perform magic. And so I'd say that effect is a beautiful one. One perfect effect I've been performing a lot of is Reformation, which is another another routine from this book.
I think that Reformation. I remember when I can you just pass us
Sure.
It literally takes.
Yeah, it's about the last 30 pages of the book.
It's a large amount, isn't it?
It's an essay. But
it is on the Reformation.
And I've got such fond memories of learning that effect. I remember there was
oh my god, his interchange! I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Do you do his interchange?
Yeah.
Ambiguous interchange.
I do that. Yeah, I can perform that later if you want.
Yeah,
I can try and perform. It's a very advanced routine. But.
Yeah, it is. I've got a huge fascination, Dom, with interchange effects. That Jerry Sadowitz.
Yes.
So that's where it all comes from.
Okay.
Is Sadowitz's? I forget the name of the effect. My gosh, I can't remember. But that was an interchange. But this is far more openly cleaner looking.
Yeah, but there's so much going on.
But there's a lot more going on.
There's a lot of gears and cogs underneath, which is what I love.
Yeah. So. And that Thomas Blomberg. Okay. He had a version, and Jack Carpenter's got a wonderful version as well. But there is. Do you do his essentially the free turn pass, which is a Bruce Savant, but he created.
I played around with it a bit. I haven't played around with it for a while. I do know there was another shift that he does in the action of dealing out cards on the table, which looked insane. Is insane when you see the illustration for that. In fact, actually, I don't want to plug this, but I've got a review of the book on my YouTube channel.
Plug away.
My YouTube channel, same as my Instagram name, Dominic_cards, all lowercase. It's when you see the illustration for that specific shift, it looks insane. It's amazing. I know I have seen two people perform the shift.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say one thing that I haven't really practiced a lot of is like passes and shifts and stuff.
Yeah.
I've just always found other ways to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, again, it's just something I haven't practiced as much, but maybe something I'll get into later.
My pass is awful. It's absolutely awful, but it's not there to be scrutinised as well when you're performing it, because I'm always doing it in an offbeat in any case, so I'm not overly worried. And most of the time, I'll just cut the cards. If I need to, I might do Ken Krenzel's the single card.
The bluff pass.
It's not
bluff pass. Sorry.
Although I do use the bluff pass, but it's where it's a single card.
The cover pass?
No, it's not. It's a single card. You're essentially pulling a single card under a dribble.
Yeah.
And that hides it. So I can't remember. My gosh, but it's by Ken Krenzel. Krenzel come up with it. But like in this book, I mean, you know straight away that. Like, it's just utter quality. Like, he's got this. What you can't see there is that should be. It's like this. Look at that. It's just like
beautiful. Yeah,
it oozes quality.
Yeah, it does. And I think that's the one thing about a book. I think learning and practicing something out of a book just gives you such an amazing sense of satisfaction and and there's a saying which I highly agree with, is if you want to keep it a secret, put it in a book.
100%, because most people don't read these books.
There you go, guys. You got the secret now. So.
Yeah. And Mike Cave knew produced this, and we were talking about this off camera because he's obviously going to be releasing a second book.
Very excited about that.
But Mike Cave is also going to be producing that, and honestly, it's so well produced. The other thing in here, which I just spotted that I did play with, and I don't know if this is something that you've ever played with, is drawing duplications.
Yeah, so dual reality.
Yeah. So dual signatures.
I haven't played with that yet, but again, that is something that is technically is not too difficult.
Yeah.
You just got to be able. It's like sleight of hand wise, it's not so difficult. It's more about audience management and how you present yourself up on stage. But again, that sort of thing is insanely powerful in that you're able to create like these real magic effects through this not simple concept, but the outer reality is very simple. So it's incredible. I haven't played with it much, but it is something that I would like to potentially use in a trick that I hopefully would come up with, because it's a really cool concept.
And I know that I've seen you perform his in the hands triumph routine.
Yes, it's beautiful. I'd say concept wise, like trick concept wise, I'd say triumph is my favorite. I'm currently working on a one-handed triumph. It's more
as you do.
Again, it's just a passion project. But
good, it's good to show at a magic convention.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also a color change from another book that I've enjoyed reading lately, called Bertram on Sleight of Hand. Unfortunately, this book is out of print, but there's a really cool color change in here, which I'll try my best to demonstrate later. It's called the Revolution Change, if anyone's interested. But it's I think the great thing about learning these like little ideas and stuff from books is that you can opposed to a download where it's maybe just one thing that you can learn. If you don't like the one thing you can learn on a download, like all your money is wasted. Whereas a book, you may spend a little bit more money, but you got all these different options of things you can learn and study. And again, as you said, you might not like the whole routine, but you might like a little bit of it, and you can take that and add that to something else. So
and in turn, not only would you add it, you could add it to something else, but it also gets your creative juices going. Where you can go, you might be creating something or thinking about an idea that you've got, and all of a sudden that springs into mind, and go, my gosh, I would have had that, which you would never have had if you hadn't have read these kind of books. And obviously, not all of the books are beginner friendly, we know that, but I think it's also good, and a lot of magicians do this, and that is they will purchase these books and have them on the bookshelf, so at that time they are ready. They might buy a Darwin or Tis book thinking this is an easy book, and it becomes, it's not, and they have to do all of that legwork until they've got that. But when they do, it's
fun.
It's fun, and you get some satisfaction because you've put the legwork in. Nobody else has done this for you. You've done it. You've sat down. You spent the time, and you've achieved something which a lot of people will not spend the time or be willing to do. And obviously that comes down to time. And like, you know, back in the day when I was younger, Dom, you know, and before I had children, I was practicing all the time, you know, and non-stop. And it was that's what I did. It was a full-time job and things like that. So you practice, you spend the time, and you do that. Now as I've got older, I've got children, obviously we've got the business and things like that. So my practice time is nowhere near as where it needs to be. But I value, like, obviously when I do sit down and I do have the time to practice a move, routine and things like that, that's where it's like my zen moment. And I'm sure it's like you if you didn't enjoy it, you would get yourself worked up. But when you do enjoy it, like you've said, you just you know.
Yeah, exactly. I think I agree with that totally. I think you go through stages of life where you can and can't practice as much, and I suppose then it comes down to the limited time you do have, like, what are you doing in that time? Like, how proficient? I mean, I know Steve Forty talks about it in the introduction of his first Gambling Slider handbook. It's like like you can practice, but is your practice session like proficient?
Yeah.
I mean, he talks about, like, for example, practicing the bottom deal. The way he practices, he has like 5 decks ready, so he will deal out all his bottoms, and then he'll just grab the next deck and go, because he's worked out, like, if I just deal out a whole of bottoms and then collect the deck, that's like collecting the deck. That's like 20 seconds, and 20 seconds added up over this amount of time, you know. So it's like, it's those little things, but that's what the best do. They figure out the most, you know,
efficient way to get to where they need to be in the quickest time frame. That stuff, you are right with Steve Forte there, and he literally analysed it down, so he could literally cram essentially however many years worth of practice in, and it was condensed into such a short period of time, wasn't it? And I think they say, is it 10,000 hours to become but that's 10,000 hours. If you're practicing it wrong, that's 10,000 hours down
wrong,
So that's another thing I was going to ask you. When you're practicing a move and things like that, do you use like a 3-way mirror, or do you use cameras or anything like that?
I don't have a 3-way mirror, but I do use the place I'm currently staying. There's a nice mirror at the bathroom, so I'll practice stuff there, and then I will also film. And I think you got to be very brave and courageous in going, okay, this doesn't look good, or this needs to get, like, this is looking good, but there's this little thing that just looks a bit odd. Like, you got to be very nitpicky. And again, like, you don't settle for average. Be good, because in order to be noticed and to be different, you need to, I think, in my opinion, be doing things that others aren't, or doing them better than anyone else. Excellent. I think the best advice that I got for Magic was by a guy named David Williamson, who I assume you know. I hope you guys know him as well. He's incredible. But I remember chatting to him, and he was saying, pick a handful of things that you enjoy, but when you pick them, make sure they're things that you would be willing to do for just those effects for the rest of your life, and do them better than anyone. Be the best. Like, for example, you know, like the effect I was practicing, and I'm still practicing at the times, Reformation, is like, you know, you may never be better than him, but try to do Reformation better than Guy Hollingworth, you know, because, you know, put him to the test, you know, because, you know, to have that sort of attitude towards your effects and what you practice is really important, because, again, you want to be noticed, and when you're noticed, you got to be good enough for people to, you know, to respect you in that sense.
100%, So obviously, Dom, you know, we're really trying to get a full understanding of sort of what you are, and it's definitely all coming together in your passion through reading books. How do you find, like, obviously you have got quite a distinctive style, and I think this is important that we talk about this, because everybody has their own style. So for argument's sake, I would not perform the card through coat, because that just doesn't suit my style. How do you think that how do you deal with understanding your performance style, and how do you think that the client and customers that do book you, how do you think that comes across? Have you had any sort of people, because even though you're a very entertaining guy, he's beyond classy. This guy, he's beyond classy. So how do you find that?
Yeah, I think again with figuring out your style, that's very important, and through figuring out what your style is, that means again you sort of maybe limit down options of what you can do.
Yeah.
Like I think it would be, unless it was for the parents, it'd be a little bit impractical for me to go and perform cards through jacket at a 5-year-old's birthday party. I mean, there are moments of it they're very magical, but
Yeah.
I think there's certain elements of things that I do that just wouldn't go.
Yeah.
So like I think you got to realize, what is my best way of performing magic? What's the best way that I perform magic?
Yeah.
And then accepting that is not going to be perfect for every situation.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I don't have one, but through your website and through your marketing and advertising, through that, convey who you are as a performer the best you can, so people know what they're getting when they hire you.
Yeah.
But again, I think being able to accept, if you want to be noticed, that means you need to be very good at something.
Yeah.
Which then means you have to go down choose a specific route. Yeah. I mean, there are some guys that are just incredible that can do everything.
Yeah.
But
i.e. Dave Williamson.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think like someone like myself, hasn't really, because I'm an amateur, I just do it because I enjoy it, which means I've just invested all my time into cards. So if someone had to hire me for something, I would 99% of the time be performing card magic.
Yeah.
So I think just accepting that sometimes that might not work out, which means then maybe it's a case I go, sorry, I can't help you out because this is what I do. Or, but I think again, as I said, just realizing what's the best way that you perform magic, and then trying to advertise that through your website or whatever.
Yeah, because essentially they when the client books you, they're buying. They want you. They don't want, obviously your magic's a very high quality of magic, but they're really, I say purchasing you, but they're hiring you as an individual, aren't they? Because they like you as a person, and definitely suiting certain environments. You would definitely excel at more than others. Another thing I actually did want to bring up that we should have brought up earlier, and that is because I want to give a shout out to Dom's mum here. Now I've never met your dad, I've never met your mum, but I've spoken to your mum, and I think, as I did growing up, I think it's absolutely critical that you do have parents or people that are supportive of magic and getting them on the right path straight away. And I understand that, like we've spoken about this earlier, kids want to just go onto YouTube, they want to learn that, and they want everything now. We live in a world where everything's now. And unfortunately, to do good quality magic isn't a now thing. It takes time. So I think it hats off to your mum and dad for giving you the opportunity and getting you the books, getting you the, I mean, like when you were at that school in South Africa,
College of Magic.
I mean, that's a gift, mate. That's a huge gift, and unfortunately, like it really, in Australia, we don't really have anything yet that can facilitate that. But I think it is imperative. So hats off to your mum and dad for supporting that, because I think it is critical to encourage it.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So that's a little thumbs up there.
Yeah,
because
sure.
I know
Thank you very much.
Yeah, because and I know your mum will be watching as well. So that's a win.
Thanks,
so
Mom.
Hello.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But, yeah,
the amount of card tricks she's had to sit through.
yeah. But that's good, And they're always your biggest fan. Your mum and your dad are always the biggest cheerers. But they will give you honest feedback.
That's the
things,
important thing. I think, as you said, having that trusted relationship of giving constructive criticism or feedback
Yeah.
is very important, because it's very easy for some people just to go, oh, it looks great, but it's actually not that great. You know, you need to have people that are honest, and sometimes that's difficult to hear, because again, like, you put so much practice in something and it still doesn't look good, you know. There are plenty of times my mom said, oh, I've seen the card in your hand or something else, and I'm like, oh, dang. But it's the only way.
How did that get there? How did that get there?
Yeah, it's the only way to get better. So having those people in your life is very important. So whether it be your parents or your partner or your friends, just finding someone who can, you know, who's willing to support you in that sense. Not only give you praise, but also give you feedback. I think having that give and take relationship is very important. Yeah,
absolutely. So if anybody is watching this and they've got kids and or grandchildren or friends or whatever that have a passion for magic, you know, put them on the right path and encourage them. And you know, they'll you don't have to be a professional magician to obviously thoroughly enjoy magic, like Dom's saying. You know, so it is wonderful. So let's move on now, because I want to see some magic now.
I'm excited.
So everyone, if you've held in this long, guys, you've done so well, because you're going to see some of the finest card magic you're ever going to see. So I've really built you up there, haven't I? But you're going to see there's we're going to do some sit down magic, and then we'll do some stand up magic as well. So guys, thanks for being with us. Obviously, Dom is spending his time here with us, and I hope you're enjoying it. He really has got a lot to say. And guys, make sure if you've got any comments to leave them below, and you can ask any of the questions, and I'll make sure that Dom answers them. And so, what was your Instagram again?
So my Instagram is Dominic_cards. So Dominic DOMINIC and then _cards. Same with my YouTube channel. So go check that out. So my Instagram is a bit of performing, a bit of like book reviews, maybe just some sleight of hand stuff I'm working on, just stuff that I enjoy. Again, I said I enjoy it, so I post what I enjoy.
So it's pretty much like eye candy that's extremely hard to do, but you when you watch it, you've got such admiration for it, because you know it's taking your time. So what book and what effect?
So I think I'd love to start us off with an effect from this book, which I've recently done a book discussion on. It's called The Secrets of Sosato, produced by Richard Kaufman. And there's an effect in here. I maybe don't want to give it away yet, so I spoil the surprise. But it's a very unorthodox and unusual way of at least the first time I saw it, it was a very unusual way of doing it, and a very real way of doing it. So and the method behind it is very, very amazing. Okay. So I hope you enjoy.
All right.
Great. So, for this, John, would you mind selecting a card for me?
Okay.
And show it to everyone back home so they can see. I want to have a look. Everyone can remember that?
Yep.
Lovely. Okay. So we'll leave the card somewhere near the center of the pack.
Yep.
And what I'd like to show you today, again, it's not so much a magic trick per se. It's more of a demonstration of skill to start us off with. So one person we mentioned earlier, Steve Forty, he's practiced for years and years of how to control pretty much every single card in the pack. And many people have practiced this and have managed to achieve this. The only problem is when you're trying to demonstrate to this to your audience, if you shuffling the cards face down on the table like this, people can't really understand how you're able to control every single card, because shuffling them face down, you can't see what's happening. You can't see the positions of the cards changing. So I'd like to show you how it's possible to control every single card in the pack, but through mixing the cards in a specific way. Okay. So
we'll go over to the overhead, eh?
Yeah, perfect. This will suit us nicely. So we'll mix the cards in a specific way on the table, and this mixing procedure is very interesting because you end up shuffling cards so that there's some facing up, some facing down, some that are back to back, some that are back to front, facing in all different directions, right?
Yeah.
As they'd say in Afrikaans, a big gemors, which is a fun word to use, I find. So with the deck in this condition, believe it or not, it's actually possible to bring control to the deck.
Okay.
You see, through the secret move, which they talk about in these gambling books, it's actually possible to bring control over every single card. So just by gathering the cards like this, hasn't happened yet, but when you gather the cards up, You can obviously see there's some facing up, there's some facing down, there's some that are face to face, some back to front, like so. But if we give the cards a moment on the table like this, it's done.
Okay.
Did you see the move at all? No.
Nah.
Well, that's why
I'm a bit concerned right now.
That's why they call it a secret move.
Yeah.
You see, because now every single card in the pack is facing the same way. Every single card except for one, you'll see, which I hope you can turn that over and show that to everyone. I hope is the selected card.
Let me pull this here. There you go.
The 6 of clubs.
What? What? Which book was that out of again?
This is from The Secrets of Sosato.
See? That's awesome.
And this effect is called Bushfire Triumph version 1.5.
What? That's amazing, Dom.
So it's a beautiful, beautiful effect of version of Triumph.
Yeah.
Which I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah.
And the first time I saw it, again, like I just saw it, I was like, your reaction, I was just like, what?
Yeah. That's right to the very end. Those cards are mixed.
Mm.
What?
It's just a beautiful way of
the sequence is very good.
Yeah, and again, I suppose when you find a way to motivate everything, it makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That's awesome. All right,
there you go. Let's move on to the next.
That's really good. All right, so go on. Next one.
Next effect. Okay, so for this, we'll use a few cards.
Yeah.
Have you? So this is something that lately been realizing. I've always.
Sorry, just let me stop you there. Just so everybody knows, this is my deck of cards, by the way. This is my deck of cards, and I just threw him the deck of cards. So there you go.
There you go. We're having fun.
It's a straight deck.
Straight deck. There we go. So for this, one thing I've realized is, and be honest with me, John, for me personally, this has happened in life where you maybe have studied something or practiced something, and you maybe think you know a lot about the subject, but then somewhere along the line, something happens and you actually realize you know nothing about this subject, or there's far more to learn than you actually realize.
That happens more than what you think.
Yeah.
You may think.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it happens a lot to me as well. And I've realized this with playing. This is actually applicable to playing cards. You see, for this we'll be using a few red cards and a few black cards.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you want which? Do you want to?
I'm sure everyone can see that.
Okay.
See that perfectly. But actually, can we get the overhead camera for this?
Yeah.
Or,
there you go. There's the overhead.
So this might be a nice view for people to see. So we can see we have some red cards and some black cards, and the idea is this. So one thing I've realized is if you take the red cards and the black cards, right? If you take them and you mix them on the table, so if we mix a red card with a black card and you alternate them on the table like this.
Mm.
One thing I've discovered, this is very, very strange, but for some reason, with the cards in this alternate condition of red, black, if you take them and you leave them for a moment, very weird. If you leave them for a moment, it's actually possible. I don't know why, but it's actually possible for those red cards to separate out from the black cards. Meaning that now, if we look at the cards at the moment, you can see there's the red cards and the black cards, but they've now separated out, which is really weird. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll try this again. And maybe the other camera might be better for this. So we'll mix the cards on the table like so.
Yeah.
And not only do they separate, but they separate out in the same order. I don't know if you saw, but if there's a red card on the bottom here, right, that would mean there's a red card at the first position and the third position, the fifth position.
Yeah.
Did you remember the value of the red cards in their specific positions at all?
No,
that's all right. That's okay. It's fine. We'll start again. So I did forget. This is a little bit of a memory test. So
okay,
we'll just hash that out. But let's say, for example, I'll place the red cards in a.
I feel like I've let you down there now.
No, not at all. So we'll place the red cards in the specific order. So if we have it in this order, so we've had the 3, then the 5, then the 7, and so on.
Yeah.
Now we know the order of the cards.
Yeah.
So it's a 3, 5, 7. But watch this. I do nothing. Look. If we leave the cards for a moment, I don't know why, but with the cards in this alternate state of red, black, again, the red cards and the black cards separate out from each other, because if we have a look again, we have the 3, the 5, and the 7, but they've separated out.
Check that out. What?
Again, from the... I don't know how.
What?
There you go.
That's amazing. Where's that from?
So this is a combination of 2 effects.
Okay.
From 2 books.
Yeah.
One is, the first phase is from Dennis Bear's 3-set volume of handcrafted card magic.
Yeah.
The oil and water is from volume 1.
Yeah.
And then the second sequence, which I find very fascinating, is from... I'm still trying to work and discover for myself, is from a book called The Magic Way by Juan Tamariz, which is a theory book. If you're big into theory, this is a really cool book to have and to study. It really helps you learn how to study magic effects when you're coming up with or practicing with them. I highly recommend it. It's more for, you got to have some sort of, it's a little bit tricky to understand at first, but once you get what he's trying to say through his writing, man, it's an amazing book. So that specific oil and that second phase is from that book.
Yep.
It's called it's called Bold Oil and Water. So if you type into YouTube Quantum Maris Bold Oil and Water, you see him performing it. At first I was just like, when I saw it, I was like, whoa, like what's this? And then you watch it and you're like, and then you read what he's doing and then you watch it again, you're like, how did I not see that? But it's so like psychologically, it's so like very subtle and very clever. So I think that's the big thing about Quantum Maris. He's so good about thinking about magic. Yeah. And I suppose that's the difference between that's the difference where, like, for example, you know, sometimes a lot of sleight of hand is very good, but also sometimes a lot of psychology is much better than sleight of hand, which you
utilize a lot of psychology in there. For me to make focus of a set of cards, which then fooled me.
Yeah. and for this oil and water sequence that I've just showed you, honestly, you don't require heavy duty sleight of hand. You just need to be good at performing the routine sequences.
There's no extra cards here. There's 3 red, 3 black. That's all that there is. So it just it's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah, there's a beautiful I'd probably say one of my favorite ways of performing again from this book. It's another beautiful way of performing oil and water in the spectator's hand. Yeah. They are one or two things you need to do for this oil and water. Yeah. But there's a bit more sleight of hand orientated. But this, what I've just showed you is equally as amazing. And you don't require too much sleight of hand. But the one in this book, I would highly recommend checking out the performance of it. Yeah. I might myself put when I feel like I'm good enough at it, put a performance of it on my Instagram page. But I highly recommend checking out Guy Hollingworth's Oil and Water. It's a beautiful and very clean, pure effect. But this is the first phase I showed you is from Dennis Bear's Handcrafted Card Magic Volume 1, and the second phase was from The Magic Rainbow by Juan Tamariz.
Yeah, and I love how you've adapted both of them there and they fit in extremely well. They complement each other. So yeah.
Again, that's why I like having a fairly decent sized library allows you to go, okay, I want to study oil and water, therefore these are all the books that have oil and water. Yeah. These are the different ways like they do them. Which ways do I enjoy? Which ways do I like? Which ways do I not like? Yeah. Because I think there's a lot of power in knowing the power of the things that you leave out.
Yeah. Which is probably more value, really. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I think with Matt, as a magician, your journey isn't linear; it's circular. Yeah. Because you do this big. It's almost like you come back to go around, start at the beginning, start to learn all the sleights, and you become very good at the sleights, and you do all the sleights, and you realize, okay, maybe these sleights don't work for me in this, and then you sort of nail down what you enjoy, and then you get back to the beginning. It's like, okay, these are the things I enjoy. Yeah. And even just something like a simple vanish and reproduction of a coin is so if you think about it, like effect-wise, it's very simple. But to actually perform it well takes so much thought and analysis, and that's what this book, The Magic Way, teaches you. So again, highly recommend that book.
You've also talking of Juan Tamariz, you've obviously read The Magic Rainbow.
I'm currently reading it.
You're currently reading it because obviously it's like a tome.
Yeah,
it's extremely thick, but and that's quite a read. The Magic Rainbow is. In fact, I haven't personally read the whole thing, and I have not got through it all. But that, I suppose, and there's been multiple people saying a lot of different things about the Magic Rainbow. What is your impression of the Magic Rainbow from what you have read so far?
Yeah,
because it's quite deep.
It is very deep. I think one thing you have to realize with Juan's writing style, it's very poetical and very abstract.
Yeah,
and I think he even mentions it in the foreword to this book. Like he says, a lot of the first 50 to 80 pages of the book is very. If you're just an outsider reading, you'd think this guy is insane. Like I've got this thing with my stepmom.
If you seen perform, you think he's insane.
Yeah. We call him the LSD man because he's just crazy, and that's what I love about him. He's not scared to be himself, and that's what makes him so recognizable because he's himself.
Yeah.
Again, if you want to be recognized, be yourself. Do what you enjoy, and I think. When you start to understand what he's trying to convey through that poet, because he gives you a poetical, emotional, written part of his thinking behind magic.
Yeah.
And then after that, this next section of the book, he more academically sort of tries to explain what you've just read in the first 50 to 80 pages. He gives you a more thorough academic explanation of what he's trying to say earlier.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important to be able to understand both.
Yeah.
And that means you might need to read it a few times. One thing that I did was for example, the Magic Way. He's got he explains his sort of poetical way of explaining his theory of false solutions in the Magic Way. And one thing I did was I recorded myself reading it, and then I would listen to it, and then I would listen to it when I was on the train. I had my headphones and listen to it and just go, okay, what is he trying to say here? If I don't understand this, what is he trying to say? Okay, maybe I don't recognize it now, but the next time I listen to it, I might have thought about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So again, that's another reason why you should, apart from reading, you record what you've read, or you write down what you've read in a notebook. So, but I think going back to the Magic Way, I think so far what I've read has been really cool.
Yeah.
And I know there's a few people that are like, oh, it's just, he's just lagging on. But I think so far I've thoroughly enjoyed everything I've read. Yeah. So yeah, that's awesome. My opinion on the book so far.
Very good. Right. Next. This is so rare that I get to do this really, and get shown magic and good magic and.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's good for me.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'll
move this out of the way. Sorry.
Let's. I think for the next one, I'd like to do Reformation, but I won't do them with your cards. I'll do them with my cards.
Yeah. Okay. So I suppose the next one that we can talk about is from, and you can demonstrate, is from.
Yes,
this book here.
From this book. It is
obviously it's an unfamiliar thing to you, but this is Guy Hollingworth's book. So, what would you like to show us from here?
Yeah, well, let's start off with an effect that I've again still a work in progress for me, but I've been practicing it for around, I'd say just over a year and a half.
Okay.
So it's something that I've recently started performing for public.
Yep.
And it's something I've enjoyed. So I hope you and the people at home enjoy it as well.
Yep.
So for this, John, again, I'll get you to just touch the back of a card this time.
Okay.
This one over here.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So you can take a look at that. Does the camera see that?
Let me have a look at it because I could. Yeah, got it. Yeah.
In fact, or actually, you know what? It's fine if I see it.
Okay.
I have seen this trick a whole lot of times. So it's
Okay.
fine if I say that. It's fine. Okay, so in fact, for this, I will get you to sign it. I've got a pen with me.
Okay.
And seeing though you've got a picture card, would you mind signing your signature just nicely across the white edge here, if possible? I don't want you to damage the table at all. But
Okay, no worries.
perfect. Okay, so and that's it's gonna dry. So for this,
Just devalued the card.
card, no, not at all. It's worth something.
Right. Not much. I can
Hopefully,
tell.
after our performance, it's worth a little bit more.
Yeah. There you go. See.
So for this, I won't be finding the card because obviously it'd be pretty simple. It's in my hand right now. Instead,
Yeah.
I'd like to show you guys something. Let me just make sure you guys can see this nicely. So I'm gonna do something you've probably never seen before. I'm gonna be taking the card.
Let me move this out of the way for everybody.
I'm gonna be taking the card and folding it up like this. And what folding the card allows me to do is to be able to put creases in it, which then entails that I can tear it up if I wanted to, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the card and rip it down the middle here, like so. Now, I know what you're thinking, and yes, it is true. This is the most expensive card trick I do, but trust me, it will be worth in the end. I hope.
Yeah.
So the idea is to be able to take the card in these pieces over here, like so, and be able to restore them piece by piece, fuse the card back together, piece by piece to its former glory. So sounds impossible, I know, but let me give it a go. So we'll start with these two pieces over here. Try. Let's see. Give it a go. Here. Should see if they fit properly. We can get the first piece to melt back on. Something like that. Seems to be working. We'll give it a go again. Give it a go again for the next piece over here. Very closely. That's the second piece, the front and the back, which leaves me with the last piece.
Yeah.
Which I must say is always the hardest because you've got two edges to fix, and you can really see that's the last piece that fits over there.
Yeah.
And you can also see your signature down at the bottom over here as well.
Yeah.
Watch very closely. Because we can get that first edge to fix up. There's the second edge. Restoring the card once more to its former glory.
That is unbelievable. Yeah, that's awesome.
There you go.
Thank you very look at that. See? Okay. So now, Dom, that was exceptionally well done. Now, for everybody at home, they're probably going to be going, well, the patter that you used is very similar, right, to Guy's. But I want you to be all know that Dom's got a patter that is the best patter for a torn and restored card. It's about your family, and I didn't want him to share that because that's your thing. That is your thing. That's your presentation, and honestly, it's when what you, I don't know if you know this, Dom. I don't think you do. But when you showed me the torn and restored card and you'd gone, I sat in the living room, and Charlene was like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Charlene, I said, I've just seen the best presentation for a torn and restored card I have ever seen in my whole life." And the presentation, the effect is good. The effect is strong, but I can tell you what makes this is your presentation of that. And if you are ever lucky enough, so if you see Dom at a magic convention or whatever, get him to show you your presentation, because you're one-on-one then, and I think that's fair enough. But in your own professional repertoire, you would perform that with your story about it, and it all makes complete sense because it's about Dom, his life, his story, and the whole presentation comes full circle. I didn't think it was fair on you, Dom, to put that out now, but I wanted you to know that, and I've never told you this before, but honestly, Dom, it's the best presentation of a routine, of a torn and restored card routine I've ever seen. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
There you go.
No, that's amazing.
I've actually got Charlene calling me right
no
now.
stress.
So that's all good. Let's move on. All right, cool.
Awesome.
That is awesome. So that's Reformation.
Yes, Reformation from Drawing Perceptions.
Yep.
He's very kindly put that in his book. He first originally released that as a video, a cassette,
VHS.
VHS. Yes. And he only promised to produce a few, and he never produced again, which he's kept his word.
Yeah.
But he did put it in his book, which
that was years later though. He put it in the book.
Yes, yeah. The book was released it was a couple of years later. The book was published in '99, I think.
Yeah, I think you are right. Yeah.
So
you probably would be right.
Yeah,
You're definitely right.
Yeah. London collection came out in '96 or '96, I think.
Yeah.
And then the drawing reception. But I've got very fond memories of learning that effect. My mother. I remember
99.
99,
Yeah,
there you go. I remember learning that effect, and it was like a rainy winter's day in Cape Town. I remember lying on my mom's bed, and she had the book open, trying to read it to me, and I was going through tearing the card up and putting it back together, and such fond memories from it. I think that also was something that inspired me for the presentation. It's I think again it's I think a book that I haven't read a lot of, but it's a book called The Approach by Jamie D. Grant. He's
It's a great
Canadian.
book.
It's a great book if you're wanting to learn how to go from being an amateur to professional, how to set up a website and stuff. But one thing he says, which I highly agree with, I've heard other people say it's not what you do that they remember, it's how you made them feel that they remember. And I think again, through that presentation, I suppose the presentation that I've come up with for Reformation, it's not suited for all situations.
No.
Sometimes I do the effect, but I just do a simpler pattern like I did now. Yeah. But when the moment is right, when you've built that sort of rapport with your audience, I think that that type of presentation is I think personally for me as well, because it's real, it's not made up, because it's real and it's actually something that I experienced in my life. I don't know how, but the audience can feel that and sense that through the way that you present it.
They can,
So that's an effect that I've thoroughly enjoyed, because it's almost like one way they've also thought about my magic. Okay, what emotion do I want to convey, or what story or message do I want to convey through my magic, and then what trick goes best with that. And that was an effect which I had when I first got the book. I had started practicing and I was enjoying, but then I sort of took a break from it. I was like, I don't really see how I can perform this, and what's a good way and then as soon as I was thinking about, okay, well, how can I, the presentation I came with, how can I convey this message to my audience, this was the effect that first came into my head. I was like, okay, this has to be, I have to learn this. So
because obviously in his normal presentation, every piece relates to something of your life, doesn't it? And so I won't talk any more about that. But it, like you say, in your mind you thought that is the perfect effect for what I want to achieve there, and that's what it comes to. So yeah, it's a fantastic effect. It's the effect that magicians want to perfect and do and learn. I performed this for years. I went through a phase, as we all do, hence why we go back to the having a number of books on your bookshelf. And by the way, the library, I don't know if do you go on those Facebook groups which are like,
of course.
Of course. Man, I'm telling you, there's some people with some serious libraries out there, like massive libraries.
Mad respect.
And it's just unbelievable. But to have that, so I went through a phase with the interchange. The same with the Torn and Restore card. Obviously, this was the Torn and Restore card that set it off. Then I remember, now these to be fair were on DVD. Danny Garcia did one torn, but that was I believe that was maybe a variation of a Yves somebody, which is ripped and restored. But I know the one that I performed a lot gigging, which is Torched and Restored by Brent Braun.
Actually, don't know that one.
Yeah, because of the angles were a bit more favourable.
Favorable, okay.
Yeah,
I know
that's the only reason.
There's another version of it in The Art of Astonishment by Paul Harris.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what volume it was. I think it was volume 2 that he mentions, the torn and restore. But that's also a nice one. But I think for me as the sleight of hand purist, like this effect hands down wins every day of the week. So
which takes its roots from obviously JC Wagner's torn and restore card, which I think was in his JC commercial magic. Might be wrong there, but obviously all these stem, I believe from that original thing. But yeah, it's a great effect. It's a great effect. Right. What else?
I think the next thing might be good if I'm standing up.
If we're standing up, all right. So guys, we're gonna move everything around and we'll do some magic standing up. All right. Cheers, Dom.
Okay, hey guys, this is another effect from my favorite book, again, Drawing Room Deceptions. You need to get it. And like the first effect, this is not so much a magic trick, it's more a demonstration of skill. Again, being able to show you how it's possible to control every single card in the pack, but without even, but in this case, being able to control every single card in the pack via sense of touch alone. So essentially, if I had to perform this for you, I'd have to blindfold myself. And if I had to really sort of blindfold myself in front of the camera, that would be a bit ridiculous. So instead, I'll try something slightly different in that I'll place the deck inside my pocket, which means I've hypothetically blindfolded myself. And through this, let's say, for example, I was playing a game of poker and I wanted to control a few cards like the 4 aces, for instance. If I just had to reach into the pack and by sense of touch alone pull out an ace, that would be very impressive. However, not only do I want to impress you guys, I do want to amaze you, so I'm not going to do that. No, I won't. Instead, I'll try something slightly more impossible. You see, I've realized through many hours of practice and quite frankly, no social life whatsoever, that it's possible for me to control those aces, but through the other side of my jacket. You see, it's actually possible for me to reach into the pack and with a bit of luck be able to get one of those aces to melt right the way through the jacket itself, materializing on the other side. I'll try that again just in case you didn't see it. You can obviously see there's no holes or slits in the jacket. That quite frankly would be cheating. It's merely just a case of being able to reach into the pack and get that ace to melt right the way through to the other side. As you can see, the ace of clubs. I'll try this with the following ace. We'll go, let's try the ace of hearts. See the ace of hearts. Sorry, that's definitely not the ace of hearts. Let me just put that back where it came from. I'll try that again. Let me see. Yes, the ace of hearts. Do excuse me, it happens sometimes. And that leaves me with the final ace, which I must say is always the hardest to find, as it's the last in the pack. So instead, to make things easier, why don't I just pull the entire deck through my jacket, leaving just one card inside my pocket. That card being, of course, the final ace, the ace of spades.
That's great.
There you go. There you go. I hope you enjoyed that. That is the effect cards through jacket, which I learned from Drawing Room Deceptions. It is the effect that has inspired me to study magic books. I hope I've done it justice. Again, I've been working on this for around 2 years, or just over 2 years, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it looks alright. It's different performing it for camera, but yeah, hope you enjoyed it. This effect I'd like to show you uses some ideas by Ed Marlowe. He's a really cool card magician, and some of his ideas are explained in this book concerning the palming of cards by John Galsworthy. So let's say this is something I'm just enjoying practicing and showing to people when I can. So let's say, for example, we use the top card over here, the 6 of hearts. If we left that card somewhere near the center, it's actually possible for that card to vanish from the pack, travel up the sleeve, across the chest, and down into my pocket, something like that. Now, people struggle to realize, but it's really true. The card travels up the sleeve, across the chest, and down into the pocket, like as I said. In fact, I'll do it again, just for those who don't believe me. So see, the card really gets left somewhere near the center, and you can really push it into the middle of the pack, like so. And watch very closely as it travels up the sleeve, across the chest, and down into the pocket, like that. There you go. Hope you enjoyed that. So again, this is another effect from Guy Hollingworth's Drawing of Deceptions. This is the effect that John was talking about earlier, ambidextrous interchange. It is something that not many people would perform. I must say it is a pretty, sleight of hand wise, it's very advanced, but I mean, I do it because I enjoy it and I practice it. I don't necessarily perform it as much, but it's just something that I find very enjoyable and relaxing to practice. So I hope you enjoy. And one thing that he does mention in this book is he has a gambling section in this book, and one problem that many gamblers have been trying to solve is how it's possible to cheat in a slightly more casual game of cards. You see, the problem for the cheat in these style of games is that every new round, a different player gets an opportunity to shuffle, cut, and deal the cards. Meaning that if the cheat is working by himself, he won't have control over the cards he receives every single round. Now, there was an idea that was thought of to solve this problem, and to illustrate this idea, I'll be using a few cards. We'll be using the kings as well as the aces in this case, and for this demonstration, the aces will be the important cards as I'll be cheating with them. You see, the idea was this. Before the game, the cheat could secretly take the aces out of the pack and place them into his 4 separate pockets, meaning that later on in the game, when he eventually was dealt a bad hand, he'd be able to take those aces and surreptitiously switch them out with the bad cards in his hand. The bad cards in this case being represented by the 4 kings. And now I would like to tell you that there was a solution for this idea, but that would be a bit of a lie. You see, it's one of those problems within gambling that is yet to be solved. However, just humor me for a moment. If we really were to believe that this style of cheating were true, if we really could switch out the bad cards with the aces in our pocket, this is what it could look like. You see, just in the action of the cheat sort of looking or peeking at his card, he could get one of those kings to change into, or more correctly, switch places with one of the aces which he previously had in his pocket. I'll try this with the next card. You'll actually see the moment the king of clubs switches places with the ace of clubs. Now that's 2 aces down and 2 to go. The next card I'll do as slowly as I can. The next king, we'll try the king of diamonds, and in fact I'll roll my sleeves up because I know none of you trust me. Watch very closely as the ace of diamonds switches places with the king of diamonds. Now that leaves me with the final card, the king of hearts. Watch very closely as it changes instantaneously into the ace of hearts. And there you have it, all 4 of the aces, which means I now have a fairly good chance of winning the game because, well, the evidence of my bad hand, the kings, is now scattered throughout my 4 separate pockets, starting over here with the king of clubs. In this pocket over here, the king of diamonds. In my trouser pocket over here, we have the 3rd king, the king of spades, and last but not least, in my inside jacket pocket, the final king, the king of hearts.
So guys, that was obviously Dom performing some absolute precision sleight of hand there. You can see obviously he was performing some of the stuff from Drawing Room Receptions. If you don't have this, I don't even know. Can you still get this? I'm a magic shop, and I don't even know if we can still get it.
Yeah. At the moment, it is out of print, I think, but it will be back in print at the beginning of 2024, I believe. I think Guy has said he will be reproducing that.
Yeah, along with the second
book, yes. So go buy both.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and obviously the other books that you've touched on, but there's so much more. But Dom, honestly, I want to thank you for coming up, spending the time. We've been on a large amount of time now, and it really is appreciated you giving up your time to talk about you, to talk about the magic books and what has inspired you to become, obviously, the magician that you are. As we can see, he's got quite a distinct style, but it really does work for you. And not all of the presentations that Dom has done today are his actual presentations, because we feel that, you know, he's performing them as from the book, but a lot of his presentations are different, and I think that's important that you keep those to yourself.
Thank you.
So Dom, it is an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, showing and sharing the magic with our friends here. And guys, leave in the comments below. Me and Dom may have something very special coming up in the not too distant future, but we will keep you posted. But I wanted to introduce you to Dom, because he really is a fantastic magician. He's extremely skillful, as you've seen, and his thought process to understand how to read and practice from a magic book, I think is, I've learned something, and I've been fooled. Like that oil and water, that absolutely fried me. I still don't know. Now I've got to buy the book to learn how it's done, and that's the point of it. So thanks again, Dom.
Thank you very much, John.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah. And thank you for listening. I hope I've made some sort of sense, and I've been interesting somewhat. So
100% you have, yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And if I had to just quickly, if I had to leave you with anything, just one last bit of advice, if you had to get anything from this, again, I repeat it. I do magic because I love it, and I feel like that's the best way to do magic. So whatever you're doing, do it because you love it, and do it the best you can. And your audience will see that, they will appreciate that, and they'll love that about you, and the rest will take care of itself. So. There you go.
Key words. How old are you, Dom?
21.
21, guys. 21. So, my goodness. So, that is a great job, Dom. It's been an absolute pleasure. You really are. You just thoroughly look at everything, analyse it, break it down, and break it down even more and understand what truly works for you. And as an entertainer, as a magician, that's what people, I think, need to do. But it's been great having you come over, your thoughts on some of your favourite magic books. Not all, by the way. So Dom's got plenty of magic books that you go through, you divulge, you sort of get all the knowledge from and everything like that. But these were just a few of your favourites, and also some of the books that got you started on your way. So predominantly
Drawing Deceptions.
Yeah.
But just quickly, if you were looking to start in card magic, books like Royal Road to Card Magic, Joshua Jay's book on card tricks. I don't know if that's a specific title.
I think it is, yeah.
Then the Card College, volumes 1 to 5. I'd say volumes 1 and 2 are a very good start off with. And then Joshua Jay's, I think it's Big Book of Magic, or Joshua Jay's Complete Course in Magic.
Yeah.
Those are good books to start with. So I just wanted to give that to them.
No, 100%, yeah. And I always find that, although Card College was not out when I started in magic, but the Royal Road was. So I learned from the Royal Road. I will say that I personally believe that the Card College is easier to understand.
Yes.
And it is written more up to date. Roberto Giobbi's writing style is
illustrations as well.
Yeah, are very, very, very good. As with all of his other books and material, and his thought process. So but. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Fox. You are
Dominic James Miles. Or Dom for short.
Until next time, guys, stay safe and bye for now.